And we are back on here on the Liberty Hour with Royce Brash. Just finished talking about sports, and we're getting into some political issues here. Before I do, let me give some good news of the week. It's always something that's important when before we talk about politics, for sure. Let me get my internet working here for 1 sec. Don't do this to me now. There we go. Okay. Oh, looks like everything's trying to get booted back up. In the meantime, before as I'm trying to get this stuff back up and booted, one thing that's crazy, everybody's been talking about the whole Roseanne crap this week about what she said about the one person in Obama's administration. There's been 20 times the coverage on what Roseanne said and the whole situation with her than there is on the fact that there's been new data on the Puerto Rican hurricane that shows now that more than 5,000 people have died. And that's pretty ridiculous, in my opinion, that's getting 20 times more coverage than something that's actually important that we should be talking about. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, not to compare the two scenarios, but it's kind of comparable to the school shooting situation with, and then the president regarding the NFL anthem situation. It's like you're really pushing one, but then when this is going on, you're kind of going off in another tangent. But it's amazing. I had no idea 5,000 people had died from the hurricane.
Yeah, so basically the new data that comes out shows that the death rate is increased by 1,400. That's the big news. And before I forget about it, you mentioned school shooting, and it just made me think that dude who killed all those kids in Parkland, he was his trial just started this week. The prosecution was showing the video of his plans from his social media on his act that he planned to commit, and that's obviously important to the prosecution. But it was shown through all news sites except for CBS News. And my whole thing is these news, so-called news sites, they're complete jokes. They literally gave this kid what he wanted. He said that I'm going to be the school shooter. My face is going to be out there and I'm going to be shown to the entire world. My face is going to be broadcast. He literally gave, or the mainstream media literally gave this kid what he wanted, which is so frustrating and goes along with what I say when it comes to any of these school shootings, which my whole thought is it's not a gun issue. Everybody says, we should either arm teachers more or we should take away guns. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of the media, without realizing it, propping up these school shooters for other crazy people to see, martyr them, and then other people want to go out and commit these heinous acts. And my whole thing is, I wish the media would stop explaining the names of these people and stop showing these videos and their faces like this. Now, some people may say, how are we going to talk about the issue? You can easily do it. You can easily talk about the issue of what happened without showing their name or without showing their face. And it just perplexes me that they keep doing it. With all that being said, I want to get in the good news story of the week. This is the story. Excuse me. Sorry. Once again, my voice is a little bit tough, so I'm going to try to get through this. Team gives bullied special needs man the best day ever after he was robbed of his beloved bat. Just because I'm a sports fan, I had to go with this one. Michael Cadena headlines this last month when he was bullied for his rare genetic condition, but the incident actually resulted in one of the best days of the young man's life. The 27-year-old special needs man was featured in the news when he was shoved around and robbed of his beloved Los Angeles Dodgers baseball cap while he was at a Target store in Riverside, California. His mother wrote about the emotional ordeal on Facebook, and it immediately spurred an outpouring of love and support. Fellow Dodgers fans were sending messages of encouragement and autographed merchandise to Cadena's house. It goes around, or it keeps going on in the story. One of the quotes said, quote, I had told him to go from a distance of about 40 feet, but for whatever reason, he went to the top of the mound. Father Joe Cadena told the press enterprise, I'm proud of him. He did well. Basically, some other quotes from some other Dodger players in here, and it's just a really cool story. Obviously I'm not a Dodger fan. This is probably one of the only things I will ever talk good about the Dodgers.
You and me both.
But this is a good story, and I had to put that out there. Being a sports fan, and it's important and it's cool.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, cool. So something that happened here locally that is not good news. This came out a couple of days ago. So last week there were I think 7 men that were accused of lewd acts at Sunsplash in Roseville, and they went free after prosecutors gathered more evidence. So this came out of some news that was actually in Auburn that was written about this. The 7 men accused of conspiring to inappropriately touch underage girls at the Gulfland Sunsplash Complex water park in Roseville were allowed to go free on Wednesday. They all still face charges of committing lewd and lascivious acts on children under 14 years of age and must return to court June 27th. The Placer County District Attorney's Office said there was not enough evidence to formally charge the men on Wednesday, requested more time to gather more evidence like witness statements and possible surveillance video. I'm not going to mention their names. Quote, it appears that the individuals who were arrested know each other and worked in a coordinated effort to inappropriately touch several female juveniles, the police department wrote in a Facebook post Tuesday afternoon. Roseville police spokesman Rob Bakura said one of the girls was surrounded by the men. My whole thing about this is, first off, I can't believe these guys were let go if there was already evidence with many people who said that these guys did it. Even one of the police guys themselves said that it was done. I don't know how they were, let go. I know they do have to return to court. But on a bigger note, I wanted to go ahead and ask your thoughts on the whole situation in general, Royce, but specifically, what does this say about sexual harassment, not just in our current, our close society, but in our culture as general today?
Well, I mean, you have to look at it from beyond this issue. It's involved in professional settings. I mean, you can look, and I'm going to go back to a sports analogy, but you can go into the league with its the NFL with its domestic violence stuff. It's everywhere, and especially with this is different. This is sexual harassment, not domestic violence, but they both involve men taking advantage of women in some way. And the way I view it is, in this case, it seems just flat out inappropriate, as it always is, but you can it's more of a genuine story. I'm going to compare it to the Reuben Foster story that happened earlier, where it seemed like it was going one way, but then she testified and said it was all a lie. This to me is more innocent teenage girls who just want to have a good time are taken advantage of by older men. That's not good at all. And for a business, that's definitely not great. And I heard that they even were filing complaints multiple times, and they were looking for the people. And the fact that they were still there meant that there was something in their mind was not processing, saying we're doing something wrong. We're still here. We're not running away because we know we did something wrong. We're still here thinking everything we did was okay, basically. And I'm not saying that's probably what they thought, but I mean, you're still there, knowing that they're probably going to file a complaint about you, and that the cops are going to arrive and take you in custody. So, I mean, I don't know. It's messed up as a whole issue, and there are more stories coming out as of recently, and it's just disturbing, in my opinion.
Well, with what you said is goes along with my point of view perfectly, which is it's a very complex issue in general, because at one point, you do want to believe victims of sexual assault and harassment, whenever that happens. But, then you have the cases of Reuben Foster where, the person tried to ruin a dude's career over it. And luckily, he was set free after, the lack of evidence. And in this case, they say there's a lack of evidence. And my worry is there's a lot of people, who said it was these men. Now, one thing I will say is all of these men do have Indian names, which means that people can interpret based off their looks that they may be Muslim. There's a lot of anti-Muslim bigotry out there in the world today. So that can definitely be a factor when it comes to, this entire ছিল But overall, I would say in society in general, people are very quick to go one way or another when it comes to assessing the issue, which is you either blindly believe a person or you blindly disbelieve them. And to me, neither of those are a good way to go about it, because I treat this issue as a criminal issue like it should be. And if you treat something as a criminal issue, what you should do is you should go off of what our founding fathers proposed, which is, innocent until proven guilty. I'm not going to believe or disbelieve. I want to see evidence, because that's what's important when it comes to this. And that's where I'm at. And so far, apparently there hasn't been enough. I'm a little not convinced of that, but hopefully the justice system goes through the entire process and we are able to see what comes out of this scenario.
And you said they're going back to court soon, right?
June 27th.
June 27th. So, again, more details are going to come out of this at that date. But at the same time, with these issues that are so complex, you need the time to get the pieces of the puzzle and to put them together. And excuse me, but with this issue, there are so many pieces that need to be filled in that it becomes a very complex problem. And as you said, the profiling racially and gender-wise can really what's the word I'm looking for?
Influence one's thoughts on the
exactly.
Yeah.
And again, it depends on your point of view. And I will throw this out there, just to throw it out there. We're from California, and this happened in our county. And to primarily a Democratic state, we live in one of the few Republican counties of the state. So, and again, just throwing that out there, but just with the events going on politically in our country currently, it's just one of those things.
And, getting back to what I said earlier about the school shooting, knowing this is a crime, and if this is actually true, these people are disgusting as well. Just like the school shooting, I don't understand when you're talking about a crime why you have to plaster these guys' faces and put their names out here. Like, as I was reading this article, I had to stop myself because I saw all of their names. And I'm like, I'm not going to say that. Because in my opinion, crazy people and disgusting people are going to feed off the acts of other crazy and disgusting people.
Absolutely.
And so what you do is you don't say their names or show their faces, because they're going to say, oh, that person's a martyr, that person's a hero, I want to try to be that person if you're a terrible or disgusting person. And if you don't show their face or name, people will hear that something happened, but then you're not going to have a face to match it, so people will not necessarily have a person they're looking up to. And I think that that's an important aspect of many crimes, because I was reading this, and one of these people, there's a person who has the same name as this one person that I know.
I saw that too.
And matching the age on here, it makes me wonder and hope it's not. And I don't
exactly.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I saw the same article that you saw. And
Fox 40.
And I'm like, I hope that's not the guy, and I think it is.
Yeah.
So, but again, going back to your point, though, when you say that we shouldn't be plastering their names and faces out there, I agree. But I think if you get the name out there once and just never talk about the person's name again, but just refer to it as the guy who did it, then it's the person's name was put out there. It's fine. You know who that is. But again, you're not drawing all the attention on it when future stories are coming out within the
right. My main problem is there's a lot of news sites out there. So if you put it out there once, it's going to spread, and then people are going to try to find the face to match that name, and then it's just going to be continuous cycle of crap where it's just going to keep going in, and media is just going to feed off the other media, and it's just not going to work out well. This is the end of these 15 minutes, and I will be right back with you guys for the final part 6.